Good morning, everyone. In the last session, we discussed about how to create our Spring Boot application and how to execute our Spring Boot application. Online people, is my voice clear?
Yes, sir.
Are you getting any sounds?
No.
No.
Okay, good. Some songs are playing here, so I think, yep, good. All of you able to create the Spring Boot project? Is it working? Yeah. So what is the Spring Boot? Spring Boot is extension for our Spring based applications. Spring Boot is extension for our Spring. Spring Boot is an approach to develop Spring based applications with less configurations, right? It is extension for existing Spring framework. What type of projects we can develop by using Spring Boot, guys? We can develop standalone applications, and we can develop web applications, and we can develop distributed applications also. What are the advantages with the Spring Boot? First one is form starters. The biggest advantage with the Spring Boot is form starters, and auto configuration is available. Auto configuration is available. Embedded servers are available. Actuators available, and component scanning also available, right? And how many ways are there to create the boot application? Two approaches. One is from initializer website. Second one is by using STS IDE. So if you want to use the IntelliJ IDE, what is the approach we need to follow? If you want to use IntelliJ IDE, what is the approach we need to follow? We have to create the project, download and import into IntelliJ. If you want to create the project directly in the IDE, STS IDE we have to use. Yes, this is the folder structure of the Spring Boot application. Main Java, where we will write the source code of the project. One Java class will be created by default in the Spring Boot, which is called as start class of the Spring Boot. And the resources folder, where the configuration files will be available. And static, there the images we are going to store. Templates, HTML files we are going to store here. Application properties file, where we are going to write the configurations of our application. Test Java, where our unit test classes will be available. Maven dependencies, what all the dependencies you add, those jar files will be downloaded. What is the target folder? Our dot class files will be stored. What is pom.xml? Maven configuration file will be available. So once we create the boot application, then we can run that boot application by using start class. So today we need to understand what is a start class in the Spring Boot. What is start class in Spring Boot, and what is a run method in Spring Boot, okay? And internals of run method, and we need to talk about what is Spring Boot application annotation. What is Spring Boot application annotation? And we need to talk about what is component scanning in the Spring Boot. So today we need to understand all these concepts. What is start class in the Spring Boot? What is run method in the Spring Boot? Internals of the run method, and what is this Spring Boot application annotation, one of the most important annotation in the Spring Boot, and what is component scanning. Now you see here we have created one Spring Boot application. Then by default one Java class got created in our Spring Boot application. The Java class which is created is called as start class of the Spring Boot. What is the purpose of the start class? It is entry point for the boot application. If you want to run the boot application, this start class is mandatory. in.ashok.id application.java. Whenever I run this Java program, then main method will be executed. Inside the main method, run method is available, right? So what is the start class in the Spring Boot? So in Spring Boot start class is also called as is also called as main class of Spring Boot. It will be created by default. This start class will be created by default when boot application got created. Okay, it is entry point for boot application execution. It is entry point for boot application execution. What is the meaning of entry point for the boot application? What is the entry point for the boot application? The execution will start from here only. Execution will start from here only. Boot application annotation. Now, inside the main method, we are calling run method. Run method is a predefined method available in Spring application class. Spring application is a predefined class given by Spring framework, okay, which is available from 1.0 version onwards. So inside this, we are calling run method. Now, this run method is going to return one object which is called configurable application context. And that run method will return the IOC container object as a return type. Online people, can you hear me? Online students, is my voice audible for you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we can
Yeah,
hear
good.
you.
Yes, right. So we are calling run method, guys. So now let's observe what is the return type of the run method. If you keep cursor at the end of the line, control 1, enter. We are getting return type of the run method. What is the return type of the run method? Configurable application context. This configurable application context is also one interface, guys. This configurable application context is a interface. This interface is holding IOC implementation class object. So earlier we created application context is equal to new class path XML application context that we created manually to start the IOC container. But now we are not writing the logic to start the IOC container. We are simply calling run method. Run method is returning configurable application context. So that configurable application context is a class or interface. That is a interface. Can we know implementation class of that object? That interface reference variable holding implementation class object. I want to know the implementation class object of that interface. System.out.println run.getClass.getName. GetClass.getName that will print which class it is using internally to start the IOC container. So let me stop this class. Let me run again. Run as boot application. Now you can see what is the class object it is holding. Can you see the object name? Annotation config servlet web server application context. As I have added web dependency, as I have added web starter in the pom.xml, it is using a class called annotation config servlet web server application context object. So internally, Spring Boot is using this class to start the IOC container. Whatever the run method is returning, that is the object of the IOC container. That IOC object is stored into one variable called run variable. To know that class name, run.getClass.getName we are using. So it is printing the class name which is used to create the object of the IOC container. Then after this, let me write one more line of code. System.out.println of run.getBean_definition_count. I'm calling one method called getBean_definition_count. When I call this method, I'm getting the output as 202. That means 202 classes already loaded by the IOC container. So did I create any class in the project, or I have not created any class in the project? No, I just created one Spring Boot application. So when I just create Spring Boot application and run that application, it is loading 202 classes into JVM. Who created those 202 classes? What are those 202 classes? Those classes are predefined classes in the Spring Boot. So we are getting auto configuration. That means Boot is providing the configuration required for our application. They developed some classes, they developed some methods with the logic. So 202 classes already developed by the Spring Boot. Those classes loaded by IOC container when our project is started. These 202 classes are providing auto configuration for us. Instead of we are developing our classes for the configuration, instead of we are creating the XML file for the configuration, Spring Boot is provided 202 classes for us. Those 202 classes are taking care of configurations required for the application. Now, run method is the entry point for the boot application execution. That run method is returning the object of the IOC container. That object is stored into one variable that is called configurable application context variable. So it is a interface reference variable can hold implementation class object. Interface reference variable can hold implementation class object. What is that implementation class object? Annotation config servlet application context. So internally, Spring Boot is using this class to start the IOC container. How many classes are loaded by default in our application? By default, 202 classes loaded by our application. Those all classes are Spring Beans only. They are providing auto configuration for us. Now, so let me create one more project here. Let me stop this project. This time, I will create a project without adding any starter. Okay, file, new, Spring Starter project. Let me give the project name as 02 Spring Boot application. Type is Maven. Build tool I am using as Maven. Packaging type is jar. Version is 17. Language is Java. Next, boot version 3.3. I'm not selecting any dependency. Just I want to create one standalone project by using Spring Boot. So click on next, click on finish. So with this, my Spring Boot project is getting created. In the previous project, I added web starter. Now I am not adding any dependency. So go to this project, project is created. Go to pom.xml. In the pom.xml, parent starter is available. What is the version of the parent starter? 3.3.2 version is available. Now check the dependencies. By default, 2 dependencies are coming. I have not selected any dependency, but still there are 2 dependencies available. What are those 2 dependencies? One is boot starter. Now observe, when you want to develop one standalone application by using Spring Boot, then boot starter dependency will be available. If you want to develop a web application, then you will add starter web. If you add just to boot starter, nothing but we are developing one standalone application. Now, so for this standalone application also, one start class is available. Start class available. That is entry point for boot application execution. Inside that start class, main method is available and one annotation is also available. Now, what is the return type of the run method again? Yeah, the return type of the run method is configurable application context. Now, can you see what is the class it is using to start the IOC container? How to get the class name? Yes, system.out.println context.getClass.getName. Context.getClass.getName. Run this program as a Spring Boot application. Now see the console. What is the class it is using now? Earlier class is different, this class is different. Earlier it used servlet application context. Now it is using annotation config application context. So that means if you use just a normal starter, then this is the class it is using to start the IOC container. Now go to this one, pom.xml. Go to pom.xml. In the pom.xml, Spring Boot starter is available. Inside the pom.xml, Spring Boot starter is available. So that means if you create one standalone application by using Spring Boot, then boot starter dependency will be available. When you add the boot starter, this is the class which is used by Spring Boot to start the IOC container. For example, if I want to develop a web application, then I'm going to add web starter. I'm going to add the web starter. So when I add web starter, in the first application I added the web starter. When I use a web starter, what is the class it is using to start the IOC container? Annotation config servlet web application context. Now you see there is a difference in the class name. When I create a standalone application, boot starter dependency will be available. When you add boot starter, Spring Boot will use this class to start the IOC container. When you add starter web dependency, boot will use this class to start the IOC container. And there is another dependency available in the Spring Boot, guys. It is used to develop reactive applications, which is called web flux dependency. Web starter is available, web flux starter is available, normal starter is available. When to go for the normal starter? To develop a standalone application. Just a basic standalone application I want to develop, then I will go for normal starter. If I want to develop a web application by using Spring Boot, then we are going to use the web starter. When I use a web starter, this is the class it is using. Tomorrow, when we go for the microservices, we are going to develop reactive applications, not React.js. React.js is different, reactive applications are different. Reactive applications, nothing but functional programming based applications we are going to develop. To develop the reactive applications, we are going to use web flux starter. Now let me change the starter from web to web flux starter and see the difference. Go to first project, pom.xml. In the pom.xml, I will change from web starter to web flux starter. I changed the dependency from web starter to web flux starter. Now let us see what is the class it is using to start the IOC. Application.java, run as boot application. Go to console and look at this. Yes, how many classes loaded now? 175 classes loaded. This is the class, reactive web server application context. So let me take this class name. So it is using reactive web server application context. Okay. So if somebody asks a question, how IOC container will be started in Spring Boot application. If you go for normal Spring framework, we need to start the IOC container programmatically. But when we go for the Spring Boot, we no need to start the IOC container. IOC container starting will be taken care by run method. Run method will take care of. In the Spring Boot, there is a run method is available. Run method will take care of. Run method will take care of starting IOC container. Run method will use below classes to start IOC container. Okay. If you go for normal Spring framework, programmer is responsible to start the IOC container. You should write the logic. Application context is equal to new class path XML application context. Give the configuration file as an input. But when it comes to the Spring Boot, you no need to write the XML. You no need to start the IOC container, because starting the IOC container is a common logic in the every project. So that auto configuration available in the Spring Boot. If you run the boot application, IOC container will be started automatically by run method, and run method will return IOC container object as a return type. That IOC container object we are storing into one variable that is belongs to configurable application context. So now the question is, so configurable application context is a interface. It is holding implementation class object. Which class object it is holding? It depends on what type of project you are creating. If you use normal boot starter, that is a standalone application. If your application is a standalone application, IOC container will use this class to start that. A run method will use this class to start the IOC container. When you want to create a web application, then you need to add the web starter. When you add the web starter, IOC container will be started by using this predefined class. If you want to develop reactive application, IOC container will use web flux starter. When you use the web flux starter, IOC container will be started by using this class. So this class, this class, this class are implementation classes for the configurable application context interface. We have a list interface. Array list, linked list, vector stack are the implementations for the list interface. Similarly, for the configurable application context, there are 3 implementation classes available. Based on type of the project, run method will use any one of this class to start the IOC container. Are you able to follow me? So when you create a boot application, who will start the IOC container? Programmer will start the IOC container, or Spring Boot will start the IOC container? Come on. Programmer will start the IOC, or Spring Boot will start the IOC? Spring Boot will start the IOC. Where is the logic to start the IOC container? Inside the run method. What is the return type of the run method? Configurable application context. What is that configurable application context? Interface which is holding the implementation object. So when it will use which class to start the IOC container? Can you read that? Based on the starter. If you use a normal starter, what is the class name? Annotation config application context. If you use a web starter, annotation config servlet web server application context. If you use a web flux starter, annotation config reactive web server application context. And remember, when we add web starter, IOC will use Tomcat as a default container. When you use a web starter, Tomcat will be available as a default container. When you use WebFlux starter, Netty is the default container. Whenever you use web starter, Tomcat, when you use a web starter, Tomcat will come as a default container. When you use a WebFlux starter, Netty server will come as a default container. Check this one. Let me stop my application. What is the dependency available now? WebFlux starter is available. Go to the start class and run as boot application. Go to the console and check this. What is the server it started? What is the server started? Netty server started. If it is a normal web starter, Tomcat will come as a default container. If it is a WebFlux, Netty will come as a default container. Total, how many containers are supported by Spring Boot? 3. What are those 3? Tomcat, Jetty, Netty. Okay, let me add that point. Okay, so note 1, note when we use web starter, Boot will give Tomcat as default embedded container. When we use web starter, Boot will give Tomcat as default embedded container. When we use WebFlux starter, Boot will give Netty as embedded container. Netty as default embedded container. I hope you got the difference. Web starter, WebFlux starter. When to go for web starter? When to go for WebFlux starter? When to go for web starter? When to go for WebFlux starter? When you use a web starter, web application, Tomcat as a default container. If you want to develop a reactive application, WebFlux starter, then Netty is the default container. I hope you got the clarity how the IOC container starting in the Spring Boot. And the next one, let us see what is banner in Spring Boot. What is banner in the Spring Boot. Inside the run method, logic is available to start the banner. So whenever I run my boot application, Spring Boot logo is printing. This Spring Boot logo is called as banner in the Spring Boot. Whenever we run our boot application by using start class, run as boot application. When I run the boot application, one logo is printing. By default, one logo is printing. That is called banner. We can change the banner text. I don't want to print Spring banner. I want to print my own banner. I want to print my own banner. Or I want to stop the banner. Or I want to change my banner text. In order to change the banner text, guys, you go to resources folder. You go to resources folder. In this, what is the file available? Properties file available. Let me create one file, new file. The file name is banner.txt. The file name is banner.txt. Click on finish. Now in this banner, I am writing the name as Ashok IT. So earlier that file is not available, so Spring logo printed. Now I created a file with a name called banner.txt. I'm giving the name as Ashok IT. Now let me run my application, run as boot application. Now what is printing now? Ashok ID is printing, but it is printing like a text. I want to print like a banner. So that is a ASCII value. ASCII generator we have to do. Let me go to one website which is called ASCII generator text. So there is a website available, text to ASCII art. Go to this website. For which text you want to generate the ASCII, you type here. I'm giving this as a Ashok IT. Then ASCII text is coming. Let us copy this ASCII text and keep in the banner.txt file. Keep that in the banner.txt file. Now, if you start the application, Ashok IT will be printed as a banner in the project. Run as boot application. Now, can you see what is printing as a banner now? Ashok IT is printing as a banner. In the real time also, people will use their company name or their project name as a banner. If you don't create this banner.txt file, then by default it will print Spring as a banner. If you want to change the banner text, then you can create one file called banner.txt. In that file, you can keep whatever the ASCII data that you want. From where I am generating the ASCII data, just you go to Google and type ASCII generator text. ASCII generator text. First website is coming. Click on this website. Suppose I am working for a company called Microsoft. Then I will write Microsoft here. Microsoft text is coming. You take this text, copy this one and go to banner.txt. Keep the Microsoft here. Now, when you run the application, what is printing as a banner now? Microsoft is printing as a banner. So now, can you tell me what is the banner in the Spring Boot? When we run boot application, by default, Spring logo will be printed on console. That is called as banner in Spring Boot. When we run the boot application, by default, Spring logo will be printed on the console. That is called banner in the Spring Boot. We can change the banner text. We can change banner text according to our requirement by creating banner.txt file in src main resources folder. So whatever the text that you want to use for your banner, that text you can keep in one file called banner.txt file. Where that file should be available, guys? Where that file should be available? That file should be available in the src main resources folder. Next one. Here, I don't want to print the banner. I want to stop banner for my project. I don't want any banner. So here banner works. Banner works based on modes. Banner works based on modes. We have three types of modes here. One is called console mode available. Second one is log mode available. Third one is off mode is available. When we are dealing with the banner, Spring Boot banner works based on Spring Boot banner works based on modes. How many types of modes available? There are three types of modes available. What are those three types? One is called console. Second one is log. Third one is off. Console is the default mode. That means whenever you run the boot application, your banner will be printed on the console by default. Okay, where the banner is printing now? Boot application. Where the banner is printing? On the console, the banner is printing. Console is the default mode for the banner. Console is the default mode for the banner. Now, I don't want to print the banner on the console. I want to print the banner in the log file. I want to print banner in the log file. For every project, logging will be available. In the future, we are going to understand the logging. If you want to print the banner in the log file, then you need to set the mode as log. I want to stop the banner. I don't want the banner. Then you can set the mode as off. Where to set the banner mode? We can set banner mode. We can set banner mode using application.properties file. Using application.properties file, we can set the banner mode. Go to the properties file. Now spring.banner.mode. Now spring.banner.mode. Spring.main.banner mode. Okay, if I give the banner mode is equal to off, that means banner will not be printed here. Now I'm setting the banner mode as off. Go to our start class and run as boot application. Now any banner printing? Banner not printing. Banner is not printing. Why the banner is not printing? Off. Okay, so what is the default mode available for the banner? Console. I would want to change it. Now you see banner modes. How many modes available? How many modes available for the banner? There are three modes available. What are those three modes? Console, log, and off. If I set mode is equal to console, it will print on the console. No need to set it because it is the default. I want to print a banner in the log file. Banner mode is equal to log. Currently, do we have logging in our project? Currently, logging is not available in the project. When we go for the logging, application log file will be created. Application messages will be stored to the log file. Banner also will be stored to the log file. Suppose I don't want to print the banner, then I can set the banner mode as off. Then banner will not be printed. I want to customize the banner. In order to customize the banner, banner.txt file we can create. Spring.main.banner mode is equal to off. Then banner will not be printed. Are you clear? What is a banner in the Spring Boot? When we run boot application, by default, Spring logo will be printed on console. That is called banner in the Spring Boot. We can change banner text according to our requirement by creating a file called banner.txt. What is the location to keep that file? Main resources folder. So Spring Boot banner works based on three modes, guys. What are those three modes? Console mode available, log mode available, off mode available. What is the meaning of console mode? By default mode, banner will be printed on the console. Log means banner will be printed on the log file. Off mode means banner will not be printed. Where to set the mode? Inside the application.properties file, where we are setting the server port number. In the same file, we can set the banner mode. Spring.main.banner mode is equal to off. Are you clear? Now, so with this we understood two important questions. how IOC container will be started in the Spring Boot, and what is banner in the Spring Boot. Where is the logic to print the banner? Run method contains the logic to print the banner. So when we run the boot application, by default, Spring logo will be printed on the console. That is called banner in the Spring Boot. Run method contains logic to print the banner. Run method contains the logic to print the banner. So with this we understood two concepts, two logics available in the run method. One is starting the IOC container. Second one is printing the banner. Suppose now, if I don't call this run method, then what will happen? IOC container will not be started, banner also will not be printed. It will execute like a normal Java main method. But I want to execute this as a Spring Boot application. If you want to execute as a Spring Boot application, then you need to keep the run method. Now, what is the return type of the run method? Now, can you guys tell me what is return type of the run method? What is the return type of run method? What is that configurable application context? Run method will return the reference of the IOC by using configurable application context. Run method returns IOC container object. Run method returns IOC container object as configurable application context. Okay, so this configurable application context is a interface. Why it is returning interface? Interface reference variable can hold implementation class object. So it will use one implementation class to start the IOC. That object it will return by using configurable application context. So by using this configurable application context, we can get the bean objects. IOC container we are getting. So using this context object, we can get the beans from the IOC container, and we can check how many beans are loaded by the IOC container. How many beans are loaded now? You can see on the console. So when I run my application, run as boot application. So how many beans are loaded? 175 beans are loaded. How I am getting the 175 beans data? Get bean definition count. So it will tell you how many classes are loaded. What is the purpose of this line? To know which class is used by run method to start our IOC container. So now if you observe, Spring Framework, Spring Boot difference. In the Spring Framework, programmer should start the IOC container. In the Spring Boot, run method is starting the IOC container. And run method contains a lot of logic. One of the logic is starting the IOC container. Second logic is calling the banner, printing the banner. Are you clear with my point? What is start class in the Spring Boot? When we create a boot application, one Java class will be created by default. That is called as start class of the Spring Boot. What is the purpose of that start class? It is the entry point for the boot application. Every boot application execution will start from the start class. Inside the start class, there is a main method. Inside the main method, we are calling Spring application.run. That run method is our method, or it is a framework method? Framework method. What is the logic in the run method? Lot of logic is there. It is starting the IOC container based on the starter. So if you use web starter, IOC container will be started by using this class name. If you use a normal starter, IOC will be started by using this class name. If you use a web starter, IOC will be started by using this class name. If you use a WebFlex starter, IOC will be started by using this class name. If you use a web starter, Tomcat will come as a default container. If you use a WebFlex starter, Netty will come as a default container. Okay, these all are internals of the Spring Boot, guys. So if you know all these internals, then only you will get the clarity on the Spring Boot execution process. So we are not writing much logic. Framework is executing lot of logics for us. Those are the common logics for every Java project. Common logics will be provided by the framework. You focus only on the business logics development. Are you able to follow me? Now, can we do the postmortem on the run method? Can we see the run method internals now? So let's go here. Run method I am calling. Keep your cursor, keep your control button and click on the run. If I just keep my cursor, nothing will happen. When I press control in the keyboard, when I click on this run method will open. Where this run method is available? It is available in one predefined class. That class is Spring application. Predefined class Spring application. Now inside that class run method is available. We are calling that. Again open that run method. Inside the run method they are calling another run method. Go inside the run method. They are calling one more run method. Go to that run method. Now finally we are able to see the run method we are calling from the start class. What is the parameter for the run method? String arguments, variable arguments. N number of string parameters you can supply. Now what is the return type of that method? Configurable application context. Now what is the first line? Startup.create. Startup.create, that means they are noting down some details when our application is started. Class loader, something they are using. They are using startup.create and they are checking shutdown. Is there any shutdown enabled to stop the application? Then can you read the line number 323? Create the bootstrap context. So that means in order to start our Spring Boot application, so many predefined classes are required because Spring Boot has to read the starters available in the pom.xml. Spring Boot has to read the application.properties file. So Spring Boot has to provide auto configuration. To perform all these activities, some classes are already available in the Spring Boot. So it has to read all the classes, it has to load all the classes, it has to create the objects. For that, it is creating one bootstrap context. Once the bootstrap context is created, it is get run listeners. Some listeners will be available. What is the meaning of a listener? Listener is also a program. The listener will execute based on some event. Whenever application started, Tomcat server should be started. Okay, that is a listener. If a project is started, you listen to that event. Based on the event, you perform the action. So for that, it is going to load some. These all are predefined classes. All are predefined classes. You don't need to bother about what are those classes, what those classes are doing. Just you need to have the basic idea what is happening inside the run method. When we call the run method, it is creating the bootstrap context, it is loading the listeners, and it is starting the listeners. Once the listeners are started, it is loading application arguments. Whatever the parameters we are passing for the run method, okay, those parameters it is loading. Those parameters it is loading. Then it is preparing the environment. Environment preparation, nothing but reading the properties file. What are the configurations we are making in the properties file? I want to tell Spring Boot to change the port number. I want to tell the Spring Boot to don't print the banner. Some customizations we are doing in the properties file. As part of this, prepare environment method. This Spring Boot will read the properties file to understand programmer's requirement. Once this environment is prepared, what is this method? Print banner. Do you know what is banner now? The logo. You can change the banner text. You can stop the banner also. Print banner will be completed. Once the banner is printed, then what is this one? Create application context. What is the meaning of creating the application context? Start the IOC container. So IOC container, we are starting, our run method is starting the IOC container and it is returning the context object. Then prepare the context. That means perform the dependency injection. Then refresh the context. After refresh the context is complete. That means it will load all the beans available. It will make all the beans ready. It will perform the dependency injection. Then startup.started. Here startup.create, startup.started. So in between, whatever the logic is executed, Startup.create is available. Startup.create is available. Startup.started is available. In between, this is the logic which is used to start the Spring Boot application. Here, they are calculating startup time. They are calculating ending time. That total time they will print on the console saying that it took 1 second to start the project. How they are calculating that 1 second? So from this line number 320 to line number 336. So here our boot application started. To execute these lines of code, how much time it has taken, that time they are printing here. They are printing the time which is taken by our boot application. This logic is called as boot application execution process. So whenever you start the boot application, start class will execute. Inside the start class, main method will be available. Inside the main method, run method we are calling. What that run method is doing? It is preparing the bootstrap context. It is loading the listeners. It is preparing the environment. It is printing the banner. It is creating the IOC container. It is calculating the total time it has taken. It is printing the time on the console. Once this logic is executed, then we can say boot application is started. So can I say this is a abstraction for the programmer? So this logic is not required for the programmer. But why we are seeing this logic? To understand the subject internals. So generally when you go for boot class, they will tell you run method is available. When you execute the main method, run method will start, IOC will be started. But how the IOC is starting? Which class they are using to start the IOC? If you do the postmortem on the run method, then only you will understand. How the banner is printing? Print banner method. They are checking banner mode is off. If the banner mode is off, what they are doing? Return null. That means banner will not be printed. If you set the mode as off, that banner will not be printed. If you don't set the banner mode, if you don't change the banner text, default banner, Spring banner will be printed. If you set the mode as log, it will print on the log file. If you don't set off and log, where the banner is printing? Console. System.out.println, that is console. So if you see this method, then you will understand how the banner is printing in the Spring Boot. Right? Banner is nothing but the logo that is printing. So that banner works based on 3 modes: console, log, off. If you set the mode as off, nothing will be printed. If you set as log, it will print on the log file. If you don't set any mode, by default it will go as a console. To print on the console, they are using system.out.println. Are you clear with my point? Right. So I hope you got some clarity on what is run method in the Spring Boot. What is run method in the Spring Boot? What is happening in the run method? It is loading bootstrap context. Okay. It is preparing environment. It is printing banner. It is creating IOC. It is refreshing IOC. And it is returning IOC. Are you clear? Now, how run method works internally in the Spring Boot? What is return type of run method? We understood. Run method returns IOC container object using configurable application context. Configurable application context variable in the above line of code. In the above code, context variable will hold configurable application context IMPL class object. In the above code, context variable is holding interface implementation class object. That class it is used to start the IOC container. Internal, how run method works internally. Okay, the next question, how run method works internally. Okay, what is the run method? How is the run method working internally? Start the timer. Okay, create bootstrap context. Create bootstrap context. Load listener classes. Start the listeners. Listeners nothing but Java classes only. They will execute based on some event. Start the listeners. Start the listeners. Prepare environment. What is the meaning of prepare environment? Read properties file. Read the properties file or YML file. Currently we are using properties file. It is going to read the properties file and it is going to prepare the environment for that. Once it is done, create the IOC object. Create the IOC. Create the application context. Create application context. Create application context, which is also called as IOC. Then prepare and refresh IOC. Nothing but it is going to perform dependency injection. IOC will be started. IOC will be prepared. What is the meaning of preparing the IOC? What is the meaning of preparing the IOC? Load the bean classes, create the objects, perform the dependency injection. And here, one more line of code will be available, call runners, and finally return IOC object. Finally return the IOC object. So these all are called as internal logics of the run method. How? If anybody asks in the interview, what is the run method in the Spring Boot? Then you need to explain all these concepts. IOC container will start the timer. Now here, stop the timer, calculate the time taken and print on console. How much time it has taken to start the application? So from here to here, how much time it has taken? That calculate the timer and it will print on the console. Okay, then finally call the runners and return the IOC object. Sir, what is a runner? What is a runner in the Spring Boot? That is a future topic, guys. So we will understand in the coming classes what is a runner. Basically, runner is also a program which will execute only one time in the application. If I tell that also you can't understand, I will tell you with the real-time scenario what is a runner, where to use a runner in the project. The runners also will be executed as part of run method. Can you see this line of code now? Can you see this line? 1 minute. Control O. Run method is available. The run method internally executing one line of code called call runners. So why we need runners? In your project, if you want to execute any logic only one time, then you can go for runner. That is a definition. But with the definition, you will not get the clarity. When you will get the clarity? If you understand the scenario, then you will get the clarity. That scenario I will explain in the coming classes. So for time being, if anybody want to know what is a runner in the Spring Boot. Runner is a program which will execute only one time in the Spring Boot. What is runner in Spring Boot? Runners are used to execute the logic only one time. Runners are used to execute the logic. Runners are used to execute the logic only one time when boot application started. When boot application started. Sir, we are not getting the clarity on the runner. No, you will not get that because I am not explaining that. So in the coming classes, we will discuss runner topic again with the real-time scenario when to go for that runner. For time being, you just remember in the Spring Boot, runners concept will be available. Those runners will be executed as part of the run method. When to use, how to use, why to use, in the future classes we are going to understand that. Is this clear? Now, look at the internals of the run method, guys. Look at the internals of the run method. Yeah, read that. Start the timer. Create bootstrap context. Create bootstrap context. Load listener classes. Load listener classes. Start the listeners. Prepare the environment. Prepare the environment. Prepare the environment and stop the timer. Calculate the time it has taken. and print on the console and call the runners and return the IOC object. So this is the execution flow of our run method. That means lot of things are happening inside the run method. So if you see as a programmer, there is just only one line of code is available. We are just calling just one line of code. But in the background, so many things are happening. There is just only one line of code available, but in the background, so many things are available. Are you clear with my point? Yep. Spring application.run method, application.class, arguments we are passing. So inside the run method, lot of things are happening internally. Okay. Yes, that's why class name dot method name. So run method is a static method. That's why we are calling by using class name dot method name. Spring Boot application annotation. Public static void main string arguments. Spring application dot run. Application class and arguments we are taking. Yeah. Read these points once. These are very, very, very important, guys. When you go for any Spring Boot interview, these questions are common. And if you understand these questions and answers, then only you can develop the project by using Spring Boot. What is the first one? What is start class in the Spring Boot? What is start class in Spring Boot? Can anyone tell me what is the start class in the Spring Boot? Whenever we create a boot application, one Java class is creating by default. That Java class is called as a start class. That start class is entry point for our boot application execution, right? Then how IOC container will be started in the Spring Boot? Okay, come on, read the points. Run method will take care of starting the IOC container, and run method will use below classes to start the IOC container based on the starter available in form.xml. If you add boot starter, this class it will use to start the IOC. If you use web starter, this class it will use to start the IOC. If you use a webflex, this class will be used to start the IOC. And one more point. When we use a web starter, boot will give Tomcat as a default container. And when we use webflex starter, boot will use Netty as a default container. What about Jetty? Jetty coming or Jetty not coming? We need to do some configurations to use Jetty as a embedded container. And what is banner in the Spring Boot? When we run the boot application by default, Spring logo will be printed on the console. That is called as banner in the Spring Boot. And run method contains the logic to print banner. Okay, we can change the banner text according to our requirement by creating banner.txt file in the src main resources folder. Spring Boot banner works based on the modes. So there are three types of modes available. Console mode, log mode, off mode is available. We can set banner mode by using properties file. Okay, so what is the mode available? Off. That means no, don't print the banner. If I don't set any mode, what is the mode it will take? By default, console. Then what is the return type? What is return type of the run method? What is the return type of run method? Run method returns IOC container object by using configurable application context. So in this code, context variable holding interface IMPL class object, implementation class object. What is the runner in the Spring Boot? Just a definition, that's it. Any logic you want to execute only one time when the project is started. For that you can go for runner. So in the real time, so many scenarios, use cases will be available where you want to execute the logic only one time. Okay, then how run method works internally? Come on, how run method works internally? Start the timer, create the bootstrap context, load the listener classes, start the listeners, prepare the environment. What is the meaning of preparing the environment? Read the properties file for the configuration. Then create the application context. prepare and refresh the IOC container, stop the timer, calculate the total time taken to start the application and print on the console. Finally, call the runners and return the IOC object. Are you clear with my point? Yes. Okay, good. Next one, another important point in the start class, this annotation. Okay, what is Spring Boot application annotation? Anybody gone through that video? Yeah, can anyone tell me what is boot application annotation? What is the assignment I have given on Saturday? Saturday I have given one task for you, right? What is the task I have given? You need to go through the video where I have explained internals of the run method and I have explained internals of that annotation. Frankly, tell me how many of you not watched those videos?
So it is basically a combination of the three annotation.
1 minute, sir. How many of you not watched those videos? Stand up. I told you to watch 2 videos before coming to Monday's session. How many of you not watched those videos? Why? Why? I want the reason. Did I give that assignment or not? Yes or no? Open your mouth. I told you to watch 2 videos before coming to Monday session. One video I explained internals of the run method. Same thing I repeated in the class now. Another one, what is that Spring Boot application annotation? Why you guys did not watch? I want to know the reason. When I gave some assignment, you have to complete it, right? Why you guys, that one video 15 minutes, 2 videos are 30 minutes videos. You got 48 hours of time. Saturday morning 11 o'clock class completed. Sunday 11 o'clock, Monday 11 o'clock. 48 hours of time. Don't you have 30 minutes? Don't you have 30 minutes of time? Why you did not watch? Why? Q. This is second time you are not completing assignment on time, right? First time also you did not do the assignment. I stopped that class that day. Today also you have not done the assignment. Why? Why are you coming for the class? What is the reason? You have dengue fever. If you have typhoid also, I'm not asking you to play the game. I'm not asking you to run for 10 kilometers. Even if you have a fever, you lie on the bed. That means you did not use your mobile from past 48 hours. झूठ मत बोलो भाई. You. And this is the last warning. If you guys did not complete the assignment I have given, I will not take the class. Today I forgot that to ask the questions before starting the class. If I ask the question before starting the class, today class also might get cancelled. If you guys are not doing the assignment, I will not entertain this. If you are seriously interested to learn the subject, then only come for the class. If you come for the class, I want to give some assignments and I want you people to complete the assignment. If you don't complete the assignment, I will not take the class. I told you very clearly, I want you to become independent developer. I want you to become self-learner. You guys are totally depending on the trainer. Trainer will be there with you for next 2 months only. Uske baad, after 2 months, what you will do? If your brain is not ready to learn the concept on your own, and I am not asking you to do the research, I am asking you just to go through the video, which is 15 minutes video. You will understand the concept. You will become a self-learner. Your thought process will change because today I am explaining whatever the concept I explained in 1 hour, same concept I explained in the 15 minutes in the video. So your brain is taking 1 hour of time to understand the concept, which people can understand within 5 minutes also. If anybody who is working in the company, same concept they can understand in the 5 minutes. But for you, it is taking 1 hour. There is a gap. You are not a self-learner. Your brain is not working properly. Your thought process is not correct. Your brain is sleeping. That's why you are taking 1 hour of time to understand the same concept. If I explain the same concept to any IIT candidate in 1 minute, they will understand that. But for you, it is taking 1 hour. That is the difference. And for this topic I explained today, tomorrow when you go for the company, they will give you some new task. Nobody will explain. Then what you will do? Will you come to Amirpet again? You have to improve self-learning. So if I do any abracadabra, you will become self-learner one day. No. It's a practice, continuous process. You have to change your mindset. You have to change your behavior. When I give some task, you have to work on that. Nowadays, third class people, second class people doing homework at the home. Their teachers are giving the homework. For second class student, third class student, if they have not done the homework, parents should go to the school to give their justification. Why this kid has not done the assignment? Teachers are not asking the student. Teachers are calling the parents to the school. Why this student has not done the assignment yesterday? Parents has to give the justification. But for you, 25 years age, no use, no brain, no commitment, no dedication. How you will get the job? You don't have any interest to become an employee. If you have the interest to become an employee, you will complete the assignments. Very clearly, I can understand. Just for time pass, you are coming to the class, that's it. There is no interest. If you have that interest, you will complete the assignment. And if you complete that assignment, today you can challenge me in the class. Ashok, already we learned these concepts in the video. You can ask some extra questions on the same concept. You are taking 1 hour time to understand the concept. Then when you will ask the question, when you will get the questions, if you understand the concept properly, then only you will get the question. 1 hour class only to understand the concept. When you will ask the question, tomorrow next topic. Again 1 hour to understand the new topic. Every day new topic. You will not get the time to ask the questions. So that's why whatever the topic I am going to explain in the next session, I will give you that as an assignment so that you will do some research on the topic before coming to the class. If you have done that research before coming to the class, today you can ask me some questions. Nobody asked me a question, sir, you told that if you add web starter, if you add the web starter, this class will be used to start the IOC. If you add webflux, this class will be used to start the IOC. If I add both starters, what will happen? Are you getting that question? No. Why? Because you are not understanding the concept. I expected this question from you people. Sir, you told that if you add a boot starter, it will use this class to start the IOC. If you add a web starter, it will use this class to start the IOC. If you add webflux starter, this class will be used to start the IOC. If I add all the 3 starters in the project, then which class it will use to start the IOC? Are you getting that question? No. Why? Your brain is not working. That is the problem. I'm waiting from last 1 hour. Is there anybody who is going to ask that question? But nobody is asking. Will you accept it? Your brain working properly or not working properly? Come on. If your brain is working properly, you would have asked that question to me because almost 40 minutes back, I explained that topic. My topic is completed. I'm going for the next topic. You are not asking that question. If you add 1 starter, particular class. If I add all the 3 starters, if I add any 2 starters, which class it will use to start the IOC? That is the difference. Before coming to the class, if you know something about the topic, you can ask that question. You don't know anything. You are listening first time. That's why you are not getting the questions. Saturday I told you, whatever the concept I explained, same thing is there in the video, 15 minutes. Internals of the run method. If you watch that video before coming to today class, today you can ask me so many questions in the class. Guys, if you guys are interested, then I will get the interest to deliver the subject. If you guys are not interested, we will also lose the interest. We'll finish the syllabus, we'll close the batch. You got my point? If students are interested, trainer also will get the interest to deliver the subject. If students are not interested, why trainer will get the interest? Who should have more interest? Trainer or student? Student. But do you have that interest? Can you question yourself? You ask the question to yourself. Am I doing the course properly or not? Am I really interested to do this course or not? Are you really trying to get the job or not? No, I don't see that interest. If you have completed the assignments on time, then I can feel, okay, students are interested. Then I will give you more assignments. Then you can learn more subject. Then you will become more confident to attend the interviews. But I don't see that. And this is not the first time. Already one day class I have cancelled. Why I cancelled the class that day? Not doing the assignment. Today you are lucky. I forgot to ask that question first. If I ask the question first, today class also get cancelled. Have some seriousness, guys, please. If you are like this, if you are behaving like this, if you are totally dependent on the trainer, then you will not get the job. Definitely you will not get the job if you are not doing self-study. If you are not trying to learn something on your own, you cannot get the job. That is for sure. Pakka 100%. If you are not trying to learn the concepts on your own, if you are not practicing, if you are not doing research, if you are not doing self-learning, you cannot become a good programmer. Your confidence levels will not increase to get the job. Because nobody knows everything in Java. I can't teach you complete Spring Boot because I also don't know complete Spring Boot. Whatever I have used in my project, I'm teaching that. Based on my project requirements, I have learned some concepts, I'm teaching those concepts. Tomorrow, when you go for the project, your requirements may be different. Your project may be different. Your scenarios may be different, which I don't know. So you need to improve that learning skill. Don't depend on someone. Don't depend on someone completely. You can take the help initially, but not for lifetime. Today I am here. I will teach you the concept. I will inject the subject into your brain. But tomorrow, if some new task comes to you in the company, nobody will help you. You need to change your mindset. Sit down and complete that task. I asked you to go through the video where I have explained the internals of this annotation. What is this annotation? What is the purpose of this annotation? Very clearly, I have explained in the 15 minutes of time. I want you to go through that video before coming to next class. I will ask the questions on that topic. If you answer those questions, then only next class will happen. Otherwise, class will be cancelled. When the course should be completed, what is the duration of the course? It is in your hands, not in my hands. If you complete the assignments on time, subject will be completed, syllabus will be completed on time. If you don't complete the syllabus, if you don't complete the assignment, duration will increase. If you are not learning the things on your own, there is no use of doing the courses. You check, already you completed core Java in that way. Faculty will teach, you will learn. Advanced Java you completed. Faculty will teach, you will learn. But why are you not confident to attend the interviews? Why are you not confident to attend the interviews? Your brain is not working. Whatever they explained in the class, you studied that, you practiced that. That's it. Nothing new. There is no uniqueness from you. You are not able to learn anything on your own. You have to come out from that zone to become an employee. Employee means self-learning. Based on the demand, you need to learn anything. Based on your project requirement, you have to change your skill set and you have to work on that. Nobody will teach you in the company. Everything you have to do on your own. That's why they are paying the salary for you. You got my point? You check with any of your friends who are working in the IT, how they are working, what they are doing. They will tell you clearly. I'm telling you from my 11 years experience, you are not realizing. Okay? You talk to your friends, your family members who are working as a developers in the IT. They will tell you the reality. Every day, new task. Every day, new requirement. Every day, new challenge. You need to become dynamic programmer. You can't butify anything. If you butify some program, that requirement will be there only one day. If you butify how to develop a login page, only one day you can complete the task. Every day will you develop the login page only? No. So if you butify login page development, one day your task will be completed. Tomorrow, new requirement, new logics, new classes, new methods. So you need to use your brain and you have to do it. If you understand the reality, you will learn something. Otherwise, this batch will complete. I will get the one more batch. That's it. We will get money, but you will not get anything. Realize. And in Amirpet, no faculty will tell you like this. No faculty will tell you to do the self-learning. If you become a self-learner, you no need to come to the institute. You can learn anything on your own. Anybody taught you that? You have to do some research? No. But if you don't do research, there is no life for you in the IT. You can't survive in the IT. If you are not able to learn on your own, you can't survive. That is for sure. And I am not asking you to do the complete research from the scratch. I'm giving you where I have explained the topic. I just want you to go through the topic. And same thing I'm explaining in the class also. The only thing I'm expecting, if you know the concept before coming to the class, you will get the better understanding. I'm not saying that this topic I will not teach in the class, you have to learn from the video. If I say like that, you can question me. We paid money for course, not for watching your videos. So I will explain the same concept in the class also. But why I am asking you to go through that? To have the better understanding before coming to the class, so that you can ask more questions in the class. You will get the 100% clarity in the class. First time if you listen, you may not understand. Second time if you listen, better understanding you will get. You can ask the questions, and parallelly your thought process will change. You will start learning the things on your own. That will help you to survive in the job tomorrow. Not today. Tomorrow, once you go to the job, that skill will save you. That skill you need. I have that skill, self-learning. I can learn anything on my own. I can implement any type of task in my project. I have that confidence because I'm a self-learner. I want you to become like that. So that's why I'm trying to give some assignments for you. If you take it seriously and if you complete, definitely you can become a good programmer. Yep. With this, we understood what is run method in the Spring Boot and how the run method will work and what are the internals of the run method. Tomorrow, we are going to talk about what is this annotation and what are the internals of that annotation. First, I will ask the questions. If you answer the questions, then only I will take the class. If you don't answer, I will not take the class. That is for sure. Okay? So this video also
Hello.
there in our YouTube. You no need to watch only my video. You can watch any video in the YouTube. Go to Google, do some research, go to ChatGPT, do some research, prepare some notes, go through that, then come to the class. Then when I explain, then you will get some understanding on that. You got my point? Good. So what is the assignment for tomorrow? Two things. I'm going to give you two assignments for tomorrow. One is, what is Spring Boot application annotation? What is a Spring Boot application annotation? And the second one, what is a component scanning? Tomorrow I'm going to explain these two topics. Before coming to tomorrow, you need to analyze and you need to tell me those topics in the class. Then I will take the class. You got my point? Good. Sir, where
Sure.
to analyze? That is your choice. My videos or any other videos in the YouTube, Google, ChatGPT, anything. You can search anywhere in the internet and you get the concept. Got it? There are
Sir.
3 methods available. We will call one method, that will call internally other 2 methods. Yeah. Any questions?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, we have to
Ashish
pause.
here.
Yeah, hi, sir.
Hello. Sir, I posted one question in a group chat. Basically, I was trying to set up security starter,
Okay.
but without bringing the login page, it was directly going to the controller and executing the method.
Sir, forget
I was
about
not
that
able to
security and
exactly. I
also.
tried to search.
Yeah, 1 minute. Forget
Sorry.
about that. That is just I have shown you for the practice purpose. When we go for the Spring
Okay.
security concept, then you will get the better understanding how it is working internally.